Well, good thirsty Thursday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here, and let's wake up the football gods this morning. Let me go ahead and give a shout out to all the new channel members. If you are a channel member, if you have become part of that inner circle of the Joe Boo Sports Report, please go to the community tab if you haven't already to get registered on our Thrive site. There's a post in there for members only, and that'll get you your Joe Boo gear, your shot glass and squeeze football, or your rack and sets of shot glasses and things from us as a channel member. You know, the Cowboys, they make you drink, so you need to get your shot glass. And let me say thank you all so much for being channel members. If you do want to become a channel member, when you go to my homepage, you'll see the join button right there. Click on that and it gets you all the information that you want to have. So we're sitting here. We are the first day of actual workouts. We're going to start live streaming today at 3 o'clock. My man, Game Time Brian, will be joining us later on. We're going to try and see if we can actually live stream during all of the combine. You know, I've been in training. I've gotten my new desk and stuff set up. My chair is nice and comfortable and things, although I want to upgrade that chair too by going to eWin here. Maybe next month when I have a little extra money to buy me another real gaming chair, because we have to get to the meat of what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys and hopefully start the hope of building something that leads to a Super Bowl. It was about this time last year that the Eagles started making noise and started making moves and started building up their hype train. You know, they literally descended upon us like cockroaches. They have not been as strong this year. I think they recognize that, you know, they're facing the odds of being a Super Bowl repeater as a loser, which doesn't happen. The loser team of the Super Bowl does not go back. But we'll see what happens. They've got, like us, a lot of problems, a lot of players that played well for them that are free agents that they're going to lose. They got a quarterback who's looking to get paid and get big-time money. They've lost coordinators. They were not the same team they were this time last year. That's not to say that they're not a great team, because they are. But now they got the big boy schedule. They got to play a lot of good teams, not bums, not a lot of bum quarterbacks. They got to play some real deal football now. So we'll see when they have the big boy schedule how they do. Us, on the other hand, I like what I'm hearing from the coaching staff, from the Joneses, but you know, money talks, BS walks. And I want to know, are we getting a snow job? You know, we've heard, you know, last night I got back home kind of late. We had news on Michael Irvin that broke, so I put up that video. I did an interview with Duke Bothers, as well as Game Time, because the Cowboys are talking about something big being worked on. I recorded those. I'll release those today, or you know, later on this morning. I'll get prime time, and early this afternoon I'll get Duke Bothers as well. You know, we're all in this together. It's us versus the old media coming in here to YouTube, coming into YouTube and basically trying to kick us to the curb and tell us we're nobodies. Well, you know what? The buck stops here. We are going to show the old school media how the new school media does it. We're going to kick it up another notch right here from my mama's basement. So on to the Cowboys. Stephen Jones is saying, or we're hearing rumors that the Cowboys are working on something big. Now, we have been baffled by bullshit too many times by the Cowboys. You know, they sell us stuff and we believe it. You know, when they got rid of Amari Cooper and they drafted Jalen Tolbert, we got Jerry Jones talking about glory holes and, you know, that Jalen Tolbert, he's going to be great. He's going to be a day one guy. Oh, Michael Gallup, he going to be ready for, you know, training camp and week one. He going to be fine. You know, I love the way that he glides on down the road. He just gallops on down the field there, and the way he just jumps up, he catches that ball. It's so pretty. Amari Cooper, well, we like what we did with that money. We did some great things with that money. And we buy into it. Not kicking and screaming. Kicking and screaming. I remember being at training camp last year, talking to my brother from another mother, Law Nation and stuff, and looking at what we were doing with our kickers. We had two kickers that literally couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. We looked at it and we talked about the receiving core and saying, I'm not sure. We had the one big catch in the end zone one-handed, and we thought we had Odell Beckham, and then it kind of faded, and then we kind of were wondering, is CeeDee Lamb really a number one? Because he seemed like he was making business decisions in training camp. And we looked at the rest of it. We said, we got CeeDee Lamb and a bunch of guys. And we were seeing Michael Gallup on bands. And as Joe the fan, we were like, this ain't it. But we got sold. The snow job from the Joneses basically telling us, hey, trust the process. We know what we're doing. And we were worried about that. We were worried about the linebacking core, and Van Der Esch played great till he didn't, when he got hurt. And we realized that we're thin there. We talked about the offensive line because, Connor Williams was a penalty magnet, but he was still a good starter. Lyle Collins was kind of still a starter, but he had been fading. He had been injury ridden, and we definitely worried about Tyron Smith. And all our fears were founded that had the Cowboys not snow jobbed us last year, instead of saying Jalen Tolbert is the guy and say, you know what? Until Michael Gallup's ready, we need to go ahead and replace Amari Cooper with a legitimate starting number 2 wide receiver. Instead of us just saying, you know what, we believe in Matt Lewinsky and Josh Ball, let's go out here and get a veteran present here early in camp. And maybe had they done those couple of little things, or maybe if they had decided, you know what, we're going to bite the bullet and we're going to go ahead and get ourselves an assassin like Bobby Wagner at linebacker. Maybe had they done those 3 things, just those 3 things, maybe we would have been in the Super Bowl. Am I crazy? When I look at our receiving core that couldn't get separation, we had one guy who was the focal point by himself. Had there been one other guy who could take pressure off, imagine what CeeDee Lamb would have been able to do. Maybe Dak Prescott wouldn't have to force the ball into Clifford Franklin to be tipped up for an interception. And maybe had the Cowboys said, we need to get another offensive lineman sooner, that's maybe a little younger than Jason Peters, maybe Dak Prescott wouldn't be running for his life and having to throw under distress and throwing picks. Maybe had we gotten a great run-stopping linebacker like a Bobby Wagner and incorporated him with Leighton Van Der Esch, maybe we would have been better suited to stop the run. That's my theory. 3 moves, just 3 moves from the Super Bowl. That's all we were. Those 3 moves would have made the difference. And you can't tell me that you could not find money to do those 3 things. That's bullshit. I'm a broke ass. And you know what? I can figure out a way to maneuver money around, to beg, borrow, reallocate, to save up, to do things like upgrading my studio, like fixing a red brick house. If you want to do something, you will find a way. You will find a way. So I'm hoping we're not just getting the usual bullshit and we find out the big move that we made is, we're getting a new kicker. That's the big move that they're going to make. Because last year we heard, well, we can't afford the punter. Even though he's a all-pro punter, we can't afford a punter. What? Seriously? So we're hearing about this big move. And we're also hearing about Mike McCarthy. And I'm a little trepid. I don't know what the word is. I like hearing some of the things he's saying, where he's thrown Kellen Moore under the bus with saying, he's a great play caller. He can, get a lot of yards and things like that. But sometimes he risks the biscuits too much. Sometimes it seems like, and I'm kind of paraphrasing this and summizing it. Okay. Not smizing where you're doing the thing with your eyes like on Instagram, but summizing, trying to take what I got from Mike McCarthy as he literally threw Kellen Moore under the bus, that they sometimes basically it sounded like Kellen Moore was doing things more for statistics than necessarily to win. And I can look back at times where the Cowboys have blown leads before Mike McCarthy. I think about games like the Green Bay Packers, which always is our bugaboo. Green Bay Packers against Matt Flynn, where you're up 26-3. And yet the team continued to throw the ball in the second half. We threw the ball more than the team that was behind us and turned the ball over. Didn't get first downs, left time on the clock. Because the problem with throwing the ball too much is if it's an incomplete pass or the guy goes out of bounds, the clock stops. You burn off about 8 seconds. If you run the ball and stay in bounds, you can burn off 45 seconds. Even if you run the ball 3 times in a row and don't make a first down, you're still going to burn off about 2.5 minutes of time. If you have 3 incompletions, you may only be burning off 24 seconds. And had the Cowboys in that game against the Green Bay Packers just run the ball 3 and out every time, there would not have been enough time for Green Bay to come back. And it's not just that one. We've had games where we've been up by 21 points against the Lions years ago. And again, we're still slinging the rock around when it's when the script or the playbook says run the ball and run out the clock. Yeah. So Mike McCarthy, maybe being an older guy now, is recognizing we need to put our defense in a good position. We need to understand that sometimes you're better off not turning over the ball and punting, that we're better off actually burning more clock. Now, on the flip side of this, where I wonder, is this bullshit, is in Mike McCarthy's past, he's always seemed very pass happy. And maybe that's because he had Brett Favre and maybe because he had Aaron Rodgers. Those guys are gunslingers and they want to throw the football and trying to keep them happy. But sometimes winning football, it's not the fantasy football aspect that everybody loves. Everybody loves the, 3-4 touchdown passes by the quarterback for their fantasy numbers. But that isn't always what's good for winning. I want to listen into a little bit of Mike McCarthy's press conference from yesterday, and you'll get a little bit of an insight of what he's thinking. I like that they have the coaches there for the combine for some of the time, but they're immediately going back to start working on the offense changes, where we're talking about 25 to 30% changes, not changing the terminology and things like that, but changing kind of the plays and the philosophy and so forth. Hopefully getting guys the ball in space to make plays, which is what the West Coast is predicated on. Maybe, hopefully, this is the Cowboys working on getting more routes that are going down the field and so on. But let's listen to Mike McCarthy and go from there.
You go through a season, you start the evaluation process. For me personally, it's been the same each and every year. You take the first 3 days with the players, and then we obviously had a significant number of changes on our staff. So it's just really part of the evaluation and part of the next step. So I think obviously I think Kellen did an excellent job. If you look at the way we played over the course of the last 3 years, as a head coach, every head coach has a vision of how you want the football team to play, what they look like. Our complementary football formula, I felt was the best this year, the 3 years. I think every 3, 4, 5 years into your offense, you need to make, pretty good not significant, but changes and adjustments, tendencies, and things like that. So I just felt this was a good time to make that change.
What do those changes look like? Blocking schemes, can you just talk about that more West Coast?
Can't even get to a game plan without you trying to find out what the hell's going on. So, I mean, yeah, let's put it all out there. But no, really our approach so far is really going back to like day one if we all just arrived there. Obviously, we got a number of new coaches on the offense. So, yeah, we played really good offense the last 3 years. Like I said, you look at our numbers just in the run game from year 1 to year 2 to year 3. This is, I feel like we're in the arena of how we want to play. So it'll be really just building off of that. We're not looking to have more than probably 35% is kind of the number we've been hovering at is how much change we want for the current players. So, yeah, we're not looking to have wholesale changes. Say again? No, we're gonna save the language. Yeah, at the end of the day, the offensive system, the outlook is clearly on making the quarterback successful. Starting point of that is always the run game and in the protections. And frankly, we have spent the majority of our time on protection and pass game right now. So have a lot of work to do. That's why we've gone the way we've gone with the coaches coming to Indianapolis. And actually, frankly, I literally just came from the airport, so I wasn't gonna miss this for the world. But but that's part of our plan. Oh, sorry. Oh yeah. More philosophical. Just how it's going to apply to the training of it. I just think like all of us, the longer you do this, the less time you have. And the importance of what the players do amongst themselves, I think is critical in the off-season program. Obviously essential in that period between off-season program and training camp. So talking more about the application of the changes and how we're going to move forward. Well, offensively, we've been, in the meeting room the whole time. So we have the AM session, the PM session. We've been doing the night. At night, we did the interviews. We've been WebEx, the interviews here with the prospects. So we just wanted to keep rolling and get as much done as we could this week. I'm sorry, can you say that again? To the role? Oh, I think Brian Schottenheimer brings a tremendous lot. I think just like anything, when you're putting together a staff, particularly when you have staff changes, there's a personality, a connection, being in a leadership role, bringing people together. Everybody's style is different. That's universal. I think he has incredible people skills. He has that it when it comes to bringing people together. And then the football part of it, it's been fun. I think Brian and I have worked together 25 so years ago. So, and it's been cool to see where he's gone with his path and from the base teachings that we learned under his father, Marty, and how things have evolved. But, but once again, we're not throwing everything away. I mean, we have a lot of good to build off of. Number one with our players, the concepts have been established. It's really just our responsibility to make sure that we're clean and precise on the direction we're going. And he brings that experience and that knowledge, to the workplace every day. How will it look differently? I don't know.
This is important.
Wait and see. But no, I just think like anything. Everybody has plays. Everybody has concepts. We're every player and coach, you have tendencies in this league. You're ignorant to think that you don't. And it'll be no different for myself. But it's just how you attacking the other side. So there's some things that conceptually that I'll believe in more in situational football than may have happened in the last 3 years. But let's be honest. I mean, I had all the input that I wanted the last 3 years too. So I think clearly when you look at the way Kellen coordinated in 19. I mean, just look at our run totals the last 3 years. We were different offense in 22 than we were in 2020, and that was part of the evolution of being more balanced, more complementary football, not as wide open in the drop back, just our drop back passing and normal down. So, you look at all those things. So, but I'm really looking forward to the critique from you of how different it is. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the most fun I've had since I've been in Dallas. I mean, just to be in the meeting room again with the coaches full time. We've been getting, just to go, 8 to 11:30 and break, and you've been talking nothing but, skiing. I haven't had that. So, so that part's different. But then, you have, all these great responsibilities here that you have to keep doing. And so you got to delegate more. I mean, we have a good plan. I think doing this in year 4 is totally different than would have been doing in year 1, especially coming in with the pandemic and everything that we had year 1. I mean, but this is a yearly challenge. I think just like anything, and I've always gone about it this way. From my chair, I just don't want to go backwards. And my personal experience through draft and develop, the biggest increases in our player productivity will come from within. Our first or second year players will make improvement. That doesn't
Hopefully.
show up during the draft. Your second and third year players make improvements. So I'm counting on that. We had it last year. If you look at our last 2 draft classes, they play a lot of football early. I've been very impressed with that. So I'm hoping for gains from that, in 2023. So that part doesn't change for me. And you just want to get better. You want to add. You don't. I don't think there's ever been a coach staying up here that wants to lose any of his players, and I think that's a big part of draft and develop. I mean, players that are up for their second contract to me are a huge priority because those are guys we have an investment together. We have a commitment together, and we want to build off of that. So, but that's always the challenge of the business arena. I mean, it's a whole different arena. Every player and coach goes through it. And it's not always fun. We all get that, but this is about building the strongest 90-man roster that we possibly can, to put ourselves in a position to make a run at the title. So that part has never changed for me personally, but the specifics of it, I mean, that's what the business challenge is all about. So I mean, obviously, I don't really have anything to say there. Well, I'll tell you, a big moment for Ted Thompson and I with the development Aaron Rodgers was against the Cowboys down there on Thursday Night Football. I think it'll be 2007, and both teams were, I think, about 10-1. It was a big game, and Brett was hurt early in the game, and I think we were behind maybe 2 scores at that point when Aaron went in. And it was, just one of those moments where, I've been there before with Matt Hasselbeck, Aaron Brooks, and you kind of, when you hand them the ball and tell them the expectation, it was clearly we weren't changing. We didn't pull back on the game plan, and Aaron went in there and played extremely well that night. And I just recall on the play ride home, Ted and I talking about his performance. We knew then that he was ready. So that was kind of a moment for us. But the reality of it is, you see it every day in practice. The way Aaron practiced. Ask our defensive players from 06 and 07, and they'll tell you that, everybody knew that, he had a chance to be a great player. Well, change is never easy. I mean, I have a lot of respect. I think Kellen and I are obviously on 2 different ends of the spectrum. As far as experience, my whole goal for Kellen, John Fossil and Dan Quinn is just from my position was to tee it up to make sure I was giving them the opportunity to grow and to be the best they could be. And I felt like I did that the last 3 years. But, I think it's just like anything. You get into the evaluation process. This was no different than my last opportunity. The GM and the head coach, you sit down, you get into some deep conversations about everything that goes on in football operations. Every player, every coach. What about this? There's still emotion involved, particularly. if you look at the timing of those decisions, they happened early. So the playoff loss was still raw. But you go through those and you have conversations, and then you make tough decisions. So obviously Kellen's got a great opportunity with the Chargers. But I think the last 3 years we grew into the offense that I wanted it to be as far as the run-pass combination. And, I just feel like we'll have another variation, and hopefully we can take another step. What do you mean by that?
I mean, you being the play caller, you being the main guy, talking to him. Obviously, you kept telling the coach that relationship. I don't know if you think Dak needs a new voice to take that next step. You guys need to take it.
Well, I think, I don't see Dak talking to himself in the quarterback room. That's what you're saying. I think, number one, that we all can use a new voice. We all can use a sense of motivation and challenge and so forth. This is a new challenge for him. These are his words. He's very excited about it. I just think, like anything, he's had a chance to go from the different variations of the offense that was in place. He's getting ready to take another turn as far as a variation of what we're getting ready to do. We're going to build it off of what, he has established. My decision to stay with his concepts and so forth is still intact, because I wouldn't have did what I did in 2020 if I still didn't believe in him. And we obviously, as an organization, myself included, feel very strongly about him as our future, and we will definitely build this thing around him.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. You can see the whole thing on DallasCowboys.com. I just hope that we are not just getting a snow job by the Cowboys. And I honestly believe that Mike McCarthy is very genuine in what he wants to do, but realizes that, and quite frankly, to be honest with you, if Mike McCarthy had come in the door basically saying, we're going to change, screw Kellen Moore, we're going to do it my way, that he would have been the fall guy. He had to go through and let Kellen Moore be Kellen Moore and fail in order to get the Joneses to buy on and say, okay, Mike, let's do it your way. We did it our way with Kellen Moore. Let's try it your way now and see how it goes. And quite frankly, I think he's played it well. And the fact that we've had so many people that have gone through and, Mike McCarthy is a bum and needs to be fired and this, that, and the other. Quite frankly, we have not done bad. He lost Dak his first season. You lost your quarterback. You were still in playoff contention, be it in a shitty division at the time. But to have the worst defense, having that turned around to be a 12-win back-to-back team when everybody thought that you guys were trash, speaks volumes for actually the job that he's done. And I think that he should actually get some credit, because he has to deal with things that no one else has to. The Joneses. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to deal with. So we know that Hall of Fame coaches and Bill Parcells and Jimmy Johnson had a hard time dealing with the Joneses. Right now, Mike McCarthy is playing them really good. All right, good people. It was time for us to get some stuff done. It's going to be a long afternoon, so I need to get my snackages ready and stuff for 3 o'clock live streaming things. Probably cooking my dinner a little bit early, make a pot of soup. So that way, we got some. I can get a bowl of soup here and some salad and things to try and eat good while I'm sitting here with the combine. But as always, good people, I appreciate each and every one of you guys, as well as you ladies. You make my life incredible. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is